Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hey, good evening,
I'm
Janelle. Good evening,
hi.
everyone.
I'm present, but I'm in transit. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off my mute. Okay,
Understood.
okay, and then as soon as I get in, I'll
Thank
come
you.
back on camera. But I'm
Thank
present.
you.
Okay, okay.
We have someone in the meeting that is unnamed. Read AI meeting.
Oh, that's me. Does it say Brielle?
It says read AI meeting notes.
That's you?
I don't know. No, my name's Alicia. Yeah, no, it says Alicia Boyd. I'm sorry. I'm just in another place, so I'm using
Oh,
somebody
gotcha.
else. So I was
Okay, no
making.
problem.
Oh, hi, Balboa. Hi, yeah. Hey, how you guys doing? It's so nice to see you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Zhang. Janelle, I'm gonna ask that we kind of ask everyone to identify themselves and properly name themselves, just so that we
Yes.
can have.
Yes. Read. Oh, I think it looks like they just came on. Oh no. If you're named Read AI meeting notes, can you please rename yourself just so that we can know who's in the meeting?
Also, Samsung SM. Oh, okay, they just identified themselves as color. No, it's back. Also, I would like for Samsung SM S911 U to identify themselves as well, please, for my record keeping. I take the minutes off.
Because otherwise you don't have the camera there, right? So I have to use the camera here.
Yeah, for the moment.
I believe that's one of the representatives from Flatbush Exotic, I think. Can you rename yourself? It's under Samsung.
Yeah,
Okay. So this individual Read AI meeting still hasn't renamed themselves.
We can put them in. We can place them in the waiting room if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, you can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mia.
You can hear us. This is Francis Yali.
Good evening, Mr. Yali. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Sure.
you.
I have Mr. Cassim with me.
Okay, understood.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I'm just gonna give 2 more minutes for some more board members, committee members to roll in, before we go ahead and start.
You got it? You can hear it? You got it, Elizabeth? I can hear it. I got it, but you gotta hear what they're saying. Oh, because they changed the name.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're still working
Thank you.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and start. Mia, is that okay? If I go ahead and just kick it
Sure
off?
thing. Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Janelle Basil Charles, and I am the Public Safety Chair. I hope that you all are doing well this evening, and I hope that your week is going well so far. Before we start our meeting, I just wanted to set some ground rules for our meetings. So everyone is free to participate. We're allowing every voice to be heard. We're going to follow the agenda, and we're going to listen with an open mind. And I'll be sure to state each ground rule going forward before we get into the business items. But just to do a quick recap of last month's committee meeting, we had 3 SLA applicants, and we also had 2 OCM applicants. I want to note that it is important that we are doing our due diligence as committee members to familiarize ourselves with the SLA and OCM application materials prior to our meetings so that we're prepared with concrete questions ready to ask the applicants. So with that being said, I think that we can go ahead, go into our roll call. So I'm just gonna call each committee member's name, and if you can just come off mute and let me know if you are present or not. I know Ronald is in transit, so then he mentioned that he is present. So I'm gonna mark him as present, but Kavi, are you here?
Present.
Okay. Great. Zhang,
Present.
okay. Israel? Israel? Okay. Carmen? Carmen? Okay. Zlati? Zlati? Okay. All right, so we do have some committee members absent, but we do have quorum, which is great. So now we will move into our SLA applications. We have two SLA applications, and they're both renewals.
Yes.
The first establishment that we have is Balboa Restaurant Inc. They're located at 1655 Bedford Avenue. This is a renewal of a liquor, wine, beer, and cider license. Is the representative here with us this evening?
No, I've not.
Yes, it looks like they are. Okay, great.
You're on mute, sir.
Sir, I think you're on mute.
Okay, we good now?
Yes. Okay, awesome.
Okay, I'm
Yes.
so sorry.
No, you're absolutely fine. So if you can just briefly tell us a bit about, how long you've been in business and about your restaurant, and then I'll open the floor for any questions from our committee members.
Okay, first of all, good evening, community board. My name is Louis Anthony. I've been in the restaurant industry for the past 31 years, serving the community with a lot of integrity and good faith. So far, I've been doing well in the community and helping the community in everything, especially the college across the street, which is MacGyver College. I've been serving them also. That's it.
Thank you. At this moment, are there any questions from any committee members for this applicant? And I will state again that this is for a renewal. Okay, Alicia, I see you have your hand up. You can go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I know this restaurant is right around the corner from me. It's on Bedford Avenue, and it's really one of the best restaurants in the neighborhood. I mean, a lot of people go there. He helps host us for our meetings. Sometimes we have special meetings for my group, and he helps to host us. The food is really great. The customer service is very good, and and I've never heard any complaints about this establishment. I mean, it's a very nice Caribbean cuisine. I tell you, they have the best spinach. I just love it.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, it's a good, solid restaurant. It's been with us for almost 20 years. How long you been in that space?
31 years, since
31 years. Way back before nobody thought about coming into Crown Heights, but Black folks. So I will strongly support this business, knowing that it's right in the community, and let's love that it's Black owned and it's been doing so well. And I'm so glad you're here in front of us again today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments for any committee members? Saying I see you have your hand up. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is a sidebar. I seen someone just came in, 917 number. Can I have them identify themselves, please?
Hello.
Hi, if you're dialing in from a 917 number, can you please identify yourself? You may come off mute, and just state who you are for our record. Mia, can you put them into the waiting room, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so if there are no questions for this applicant at this time, actually, I'll ask again, any other questions or comments before we vote? Okay, if not, I make a motion to approve this application. Let's start a roll call vote. So I know Ronald is present. Can you please let me know of your,
Ronald just left.
oh, he just left.
Correct.
Okay, he's entering that. Oh, sorry, maybe let's come back to Ronald because I know that he is in transit right now. Kavi?
Oh, okay, I'm back. I had lost you for a minute.
Oh,
I'm back. Okay,
Okay.
what was the question?
Yeah, so we're voting on this renewal for Balboa Restaurant.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar with it. It was just hard to interject while I was driving, so I just pulled over.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I'd vote for the renewal if that's the question.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kavi?
Sure.
Kavi? She's still here.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Zhang?
Yes.
And there, oh, Israel's actually in. Mia, can you mark Israel as present? I noticed that he just came into the meeting.
Got it.
Thank you. And I believe he's the last committee member that's present here. So Israel, we're actually voting on a renewal right now for Balboa Restaurant.
Okay.
And I know you just came in, so may not know, but this applicant, they are applying for renewal for a liquor, wine, beer, and cider license. So right now we're currently voting on this application.
Okay.
Can you let me know of your vote?
Well, yes.
Thank you. Okay, great. So at this moment, looks like the votes are in favor, so this application is approved. Thank you so much, Balboa Restaurant. Mia will be in touch with you. At this moment, we can move on to our next applicant. Okay, so our next applicant is Union Street Pub. First, let me ask, are the representatives here from Union Street Pub?
Yes, how you doing?
Okay, great, awesome. All right, so this establishment's located at 835 Franklin Avenue, and this is also a renewal. One thing that we do is we gather incident reports on all of the applicants prior to the committee meetings, just to get a sense of whether there have been any like 311 calls to your establishments. And, you know, we are aware that your establishment has produced several 311 calls related to noise complaints. And as discussed, we asked for you to come prepared to discuss a noise mitigation plan. Are you prepared to discuss that?
Yes, absolutely. How you doing? My name is Luis Cortez. I'm one of the new owners over at Union Street Pub on Franklin and Union. It's a real honor to be a part of this this business area. You know, my grandma lived in Ebbets Field, you know, for 45 years almost. I have a lot of family around there. So I'm really happy to be a part of it. Yeah, when I took over Union Street Pub on January 9th, one of the first measures I took was to drop the ceiling. So I've already invested about $12,000 and dropping the ceiling and trying to soundproof it some more. After that, I updated the speaker system so that they're more ambient and it doesn't have to be loud, basically. There has been, I have a full record of, because I'm in contact with the main person, Robert. He's my upstairs neighbor. He's an elder. I've been seeing it around for a while, and I've been trying my best to work with him. The calls usually happen on a Friday at about 11:30. And we, at that time, turn off all the speakers along the wall. And I invested in new speakers that are chained from the ceiling, so there's less vibration going up. The only conundrum is, in order for me to do a proper soundproofing, I do need to have a regular business. So I've been trying to push the hours of our peak time to have it a little earlier, as opposed, I don't want to have a late night spot. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So I speak to Robert every couple of weeks. Last I spoke to him was last week. I was outside in front of the bar and I couldn't hear the music, so it was kind of, I would like to ask him, I want to get a decibel meter, and possibly, if he allows me, to go into his space so I could check the decibels and make sure that they're within reason, but those are the measures I'm taking right now. The best measure I could take is really going to just require money, and that's dropping the rest of the ceiling, which is going to be another $10,000, and I need to make money for that. And in order for me to do that, I need to have some kind of flow of people coming in. Yeah, but other than that, we've seemed to have pretty good community relations. I've spent a lot of time all this year getting rid of a lot of what I perceive to be just, folks in there selling drugs, and making it a safe space for Black queer folks and humans in general. So I'd like to continue to do that.
Thank you, Tony. So at this moment, I'll open up, open up the space for committee members to ask questions. Alicia, I see you have your hand up. I'll allow you to go first, and then Rod, you can go second.
You said you took over January, is that of 2024 or 2023?
Yes, ma'am, of 23.
23, so you've had it for a year now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and have these complaints that have been registered against your business happened during this year that you've had it?
Yes.
Okay, so you talk about dropping the walls, but I don't see you actually, it doesn't sound to me like you understand exactly what the law is regarding exactly how many decimals your space is supposed to sit there and actually adhere to. So I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing that you might have something, that it might occur. It doesn't sound like you have a remediation plan that actually will address this person's issue, because you don't seem to, not the way that I'm experiencing this, and I might be wrong, but I think you need to be a little bit more specific about exactly what type of, you drop the ceiling, but what does that mean? What does that mean?
Apologies, Mrs. Boyd. Is it Mrs. or Miss Boyd?
Miss Boyd, no rings, thank you.
Apologies. Dropping the ceiling soundproof measure. So we added in soundproofing in the front half of the bar, which is where his apartment is located. So that happened when I took over the space. So I closed it for a week, dropped the ceiling, added soundproofing. Things were good for a couple of months. And then I would get a text, on a Friday or Saturday. So then I took off the speakers off of the wall and put them all on chains, so there's less vibrations going upstairs. I got a new volume control system, so that this way the DJ or whoever's in there can't control the volume. The volume is controlled by me solely, or the person behind the bar. And I also make sure that there's no, I think in the last year, we've had 2 events that went into 2 a.m. but there was the music was checked. So one of the measures that I would like to take, aside from the ones that I've taken already, is to request that my neighbor allow me to bring a decibel meter into his apartment so I can make sure that we're there. That, and I in order for me to understand how the vibration is working down there and try different approaches, that's the main one right there. Does that answer your question, Ms. Boyd?
I'll let other people go, and then if I have more questions, I'll come back. But thank you so much for answering my question.
Thanks, Alicia. Rod, you can go ahead. Next your question.
Hello, Tony. How are you?
How you doing, Mr. Herbert?
All right, doing well. Question, just to go back to the speakers. You said that you changed the speakers or you chained the speakers. I just want to make sure that I'm clear.
I changed and I chained. So what happens is I'm hanging the speakers from hard points. So there's less going up the brick and the wood, because sometimes speakers are attached to the walls. So I put them on chains. So there's less surface area for the bass to travel up.
Okay, all right. So now the 311 complaints, have there been complaints prior to you taking over the space?
Not that I'm aware of. I took it over. The main owner prior had vacated the premises, and then I came and took it over. I took over his stocks, his investment. I took it over.
Okay, so that information would be very interesting to know and to understand. When did the noise complaints begin?
Yeah, and I'd also like to note that 820 Franklin across the street from us, it also got a lot. And there's the way the sound travels, it goes directly into his window from across the street. But I'm not going to blame them for the bass vibrations. I'm definitely going to hold myself accountable for whatever I need to. But that also adds to it as well.
Okay, right. So this gentleman lives across the street. He's not in the same building that you're in?
No, he's upstairs from me.
Oh, he's upstairs. Okay.
But the way his window faces, it faces Franklin.
Understood.
And the street noise from that across the street, and they play their music much louder than we do. So it's kind of, they have, bass amps hanging from the ceiling in the back. So that,
Okay, no problem. Now, what are your hours of operation altogether?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we tend to close between 2 and 4 if it's busy. During the week, I like to close by 2 a.m. So that's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday by 2 a.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday between 2 and 4.
2 and 4 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
And prior to you taking over the business, these were the same hours as well?
The hours were 4 a.m. every day.
Every day?
Mm-hmm.
Who got permission to do that? I've never seen an application come through the community board with 4 a.m. as that. So I'm not sure of that. Is that true, Mia? Ms. Hilton, have you heard of an application coming through that the agreement to 4 a.m.?
I would have to check the SLA records to see who occupied the space prior to Union Street Pub. But that specific corner has always had an issue not because of Union Street, but of the business straight directly across the street running late hours as well. So I can't attribute it to his business solely, but I can get the record on the SLA record for the address.
Well, I just think that needs to be renegotiated, considering that you took it over and now you have complaints. And there is an issue, and we'll deal with when they come in front of us, but we're dealing with you now. And I think that maybe we need to renegotiate those times. 4 a.m. is just not acceptable. I don't know about anybody else, but there should not be partying and drinking to 4 a.m. in the morning on Franklin Avenue, especially every day. Oh no, we got to stop that.
When we're not open to 4 a.m., ma'am. I said
yeah, but we don't want, but you should not have the ability to be open to 4 a.m. in the morning. That's the point. The point of you coming to a community board is that we get an opportunity to interject, to suggest to you times that we think would be more appropriate than the 4 a.m. in the morning. And I think that this committee should consider that. That's all.
Okay.
Right. Okay. That's all I had. The hours were a little concerning to me, as Alicia stated, and that's where I was going. But nothing more. You might want to look into wrapping your speakers with soundproofing just to eliminate the vibration and the decibels. That's a suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions at this time? And Tony, I actually have a question for you. Would you be open to adjusting your times?
For Friday and Saturday?
Yeah, you said that you're, I guess, like from Monday through Thursday, you're open until 2 a.m., right? That's what you mentioned. And then Saturday, Sunday, you're open until 4 a.m.
Friday, Saturday, between 2 and 4, we're open. If it's busy, we'll stay open. If it's not, we close. And I mean, depends on what time is suggested. I'm definitely willing to work.
Elise, I see you have a question. You can go ahead and answer.
I apologize, I came in late. May I ask what's the name of this establishment and the location, please?
It's Union Street Pub, located at 829-35 Franklin Avenue on the corner of Union.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions before we move into a vote? Yep, you can go ahead, Alicia.
Well, before you move into a vote, I think you need to set some stipulations for him. I said this committee needs to agree to stipulations. One, that he finishes up his soundproofing, because it doesn't seem like he's completely finished. So this license should be contingent, because you can make contingencies. Like, this license is contingent upon the fact that he creates the soundproofing that he stated that he was going to do. And that means dropping the ceiling, making sure that he has to change, make sure that he's, checking the decimals, and also his willingness to work with the tenant upstairs and saying that there is, an agreement that he's going to attempt to work with the tenant upstairs and check the decimals. And then it also should be contingent upon an agreement for time. So before you guys vote, let's figure out what time he's willing to negotiate the time for all of this. So let's talk about time for him. This is Franklin Avenue. This is still a very residential neighborhood. Yes, I know Franklin Avenue is one of our, more commercialized quarters, but still, you're around a lot of homes here. So why aren't we let's talk about those conditions and agree to those conditions before you vote, because it should be a part of the vote.
Yeah, I definitely think that at least the sound mitigation plan should be, set in place before we vote on this application.
And that I already spent about $12,000 dropping the ceiling. So steps have been taken. I've already spent about $2,500 on new speakers. In order for me to spend any more money, I have to generate income. In order for me to generate income, I need to have a space where people want to come into. And part of that is creating an ambiance, creating an atmosphere, and creating a safe space where people can come into. I'm open definitely to talking about the hour change. I'm not just coming into a community. I've been a part of this community my whole life. So I understand what you're saying, and I really appreciate it. We're not coming in here blasting music. It's not what we do. It's actually the antithesis of the kind of, I don't want that kind of crowd in my space. So I'm definitely, open to speaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
oh, sorry.
So
no,
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just asking, what times are you considering?
For Friday and Saturday?
And for the rest of the week, yes.
The rest of the week, 2 a.m.
And Friday, Saturday?
Friday, Saturday, I would consider 3 a.m. And if I bring in my sales reports, that's a kind of a spike in business that we're going to have, especially when it becomes busier.
All I can tell this committee is that if you're already having problems on this corner, on this block, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning on the weekends is not going to solve this problem. We have a problem here in this community about this area. You know, you got noise complaints on the record. We need to do something. 2 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Thursday is not appropriate. I say 12. It's not 2 a.m. in the morning. You should not be having, this is a residential neighborhood. And it definitely should not be going to 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock. It should be 2 o'clock because you have complaints. If you were a business and didn't have complaints, fine, but you have complaints and we have to do something. So I don't agree to 4 o'clock, and I personally don't agree to 3. I said it should be 2, but then it's the committee's responsibility to interject. I'm going to be quiet.
Just very quickly,
would-
yeah, Janelle, I was just gonna say, it would be great to hear from the actual voting committee members.
Yeah.
You should take comments from them as they would have to vote.
Yes,
Thank
so, Zhang, I see you have your hand up. I'm gonna let you go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Janelle, you said that you verified that there was complaints, 311 complaints against this establishment. Do you by any chance remember exactly what the 311 complaints were, as far as like, did it have like the wording like, hey, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and the music is still blasting, or any type of indication as exactly how we can address this issue as far as time goes?
I don't have that information. I just know that there were noise complaints. I'm not sure if Mia might have more.
I have every text from my neighbor, and there's only been one text at 3 a.m. We're in constant communication with each other once a week. It's not a deal.
But respectfully, Mr. Tony, I gotta ask you, this neighbor that you've been constantly referring to, are you absolutely certain that he's the only one filing these 311 complaints, sir?
As far as I know, my other upstairs neighbor, I see her almost every day. I asked her about it, if there's anything that we could do. It has the sound, and she said that it's been tolerable, that it hasn't been an issue.
Yes, sir, but I would like for you to also be mindful that sometimes when people do file complaints, especially 311 complaints, they want to remain anonymous. So while a neighbor can be cordial with you and like, oh no, it's okay, there might be the same one filing the 311 complaints. So I don't think it's possible for you to pinpoint exactly who was filing that complaint, and that's pretty much what I was getting at. And I think, in all fairness, while what you're saying is logical as far as you have to make money, you know, we have a responsibility to the community, because in reality, a piece of real estate is typically the biggest investment an individual makes in their life. So if someone is living there, even if they're only renting, they want to be able to have peace of mind. And if anyone can't go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, it's very problematic, sir.
No, I don't have music that loud at that time. It happened one time. It happened on January 27th.
Oh,
Other
okay.
than that, I pop into the bar, make sure that I call my bartenders, make sure that the speakers along the wall that were causing issues are off, and they're not even on anymore.
Well, I, for one, I haven't been in this community board for a long time. But in the time I've been here, I've never seen any other establishment, not even one, open till 4 a.m. I don't know if other community board members can say that they've seen this, but I have not seen or heard this. And, you know, as far as like these SLA applications, whether it be a new application or a renewal, we have to review them. And even in all the applications that I've seen, I have never seen 4 a.m.
Okay.
Rod, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'll make this quick. So, just two things. First of all, do you have security at your location?
On the weekends, I do.
On the weekends, but during the week, when the hours go beyond 12 midnight, there's no security there during the week.
No, I'm usually there.
Okay, all right. So I think one of the things, just getting back to the noise complaint, since there is one on record, what there should be is a plan, as we mentioned before, a plan in order to mitigate the sound levels. What should happen, the plan should address a target, right? So in other words, if you have a plan, the best way to address the plan is to know what target you want to reach, right? So as you stated before, you wanted to have get like decibel readings, which is great. That's your beginning point. And then from your beginning point, your plan addresses to what level you want to get. So a plan should be put together to determine at what point you want to achieve. That's how a plan works. What you've done so far is great. I mean, I applaud you for it. But in order to make sure it's sustainable, right, you should have a mitigation plan, right? And so with targets where you want to reach.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Felice and then we're going to have to continue. Felice, you can ask your question.
Okay. Hi. Tony, we're not trying to make it difficult for you, but I sat on the safety committee before, public safety, and all the members that have spoken, they're right in speaking about the time frame. We are considerate of people that have to go to work on the weekdays. The safety is an issue. You don't have anyone for the weekday. We normally try to consider the time for 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, the latest. So what we're asking of you is no different from what we've been asking from the others. So please consider changing the time for the weekday, 12 o'clock, 1 the latest, and that's for the weekend. 4 is it's quite difficult to do. I also sit on the 71st Precinct Community Council, and one of the things that they are concerned about are open, I don't want to say bar, but an establishment that is late and don't have the proper security. I'm just asking if you can please consider that, because we have to consider the community and the safety of everyone. Also, the time that people go to work, the elderlies, babies, all of these things are in consideration, not trying to stop you from prospering from your business. But if you work with all of us cohesively, we can make this work. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So Tony, I'm gonna ask if you can modify your hours from 1 a.m. We'll modify your hours to 1 a.m. on weekdays and 2 a.m. for weekends, and submit your noise mitigation plan before the next general board meeting. If you're open to those modifications, then we can go ahead and take a vote right now. Would you be open to that?
I'm open. 2 a.m. on the weekends
Yes.
and 1 a.m. on the weekdays.
Yes. And submit the noise mitigation plan before the next general board meeting.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, so we can go ahead and take a vote. I'm going to call the roll. So I make a motion to approve this application, being that Tony will modify his hours to 1 a.m. on weekdays and 2 a.m. for weekends, and submit his noise mitigation plan before the next general board meeting. Ronald?
Yes, I'll approve it under the conditions that you stipulated.
Javi? Javi? She present?
She's here.
Here, yeah. Okay, so I'll come back to her. Zhang?
Approve. Yes.
Okay. Israel?
Yes.
Okay. Carmen, I'm not too sure. Carmen, are you here? I don't think so. Lati?
Yes, I approve. Yes.
Kavi, I'm coming back to you. Kavi? Okay. Should I just? I mean, we have quorum without her vote, but I don't know. Should I move forward since she's not coming off of mute?
Yeah, I'm
Mia?
gonna request I'm gonna request her to unmute again. If
Okay,
not, then she's missed the vote.
okay. Okay. It doesn't look like she's in right now.
It shows she's in.
So I don't see her on my.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe, I'm looking at somebody else, sorry.
Oh, she's here.
I do see copy.
Yeah, I
He's
see.
just on mute.
Okay. All right, so I think that we can move forward. Maybe she has something going on, but this application is approved. So I think that what we can do, oh, and thank you to our two SLA applicants who came and presented to us this evening. Mia will be in touch with you all. So I think we can go ahead and move to our OCM application. We have one OCM application on the agenda for tonight. The establishment is Flatbush Exotics. They're located at 544 Flatbush Avenue. They came to our last board meeting in January, and we voted to table this application due to some allegations that were brought to the committee by one of our board members. I'll just briefly state what that was. The allegation was that this establishment sells products to minors. The district office looked into this matter, and they were able to have a conversation with Officer Connors, who's stationed at the 71st Precinct, and he stated that there have been no reported calls or reported cases of this establishment selling to minors. So essentially, there were no substantiated cases of minors there, and they're all allegations at this point. However, there have been some noise complaints that maybe the applicant can speak to themselves this evening. But I want to also add that this establishment does not play music in their business, and they are located on Flatbush, which is an extremely busy avenue. So we want to take those factors into account, when it comes to crowds gathering in front of businesses. This goes for both SLA and OCM applications. A crowd gathering in front of a business may not necessarily mean it's coming from that business, right? We can't put unrealistic expectations on these business owners. If there's a crowd gathering in front of their business, it may cause a safety issue if that business owner steps in to try to disperse the crowd, right? So I know I said a lot. The representatives from Flatbush Exotics are here. So if you just want to come off of mute and just briefly speak on your establishment, and then I'll open up the floor to any committee members or resident members that would like to ask questions.
Excuse me, just point of order, Chair. There was an issue from the previous application that this committee had approved. And I wanted to find out when that discussion was going to happen, because I found some information within the application that would draw into question the applicant's trustworthiness and some other violations. When will that issue be addressed during this meeting?
What smoke shop was that for? If you would mind telling me?
That was the 733 Flatbush Avenue.
OET Inc. Yeah, Ms. Boyd,
Yes.
we can discuss that after we're done with Flatbush Exotics.
Okay.
Because it's a separate issue and apart. So let's
Right, that's
handle
why
them and get them out of the way.
Right, that's why it's a point of order. I just wanted to know what order was going to happen. Thank you.
Okie dokie.
Okay, with regard, this is Francis Terry, Professor Gary. With regard to the noise, we don't play any music. There's not even a TV in there. So, no, we don't play the music in there. So I don't know who made a complaint that about the noises, but we don't play no music. People don't stay there with radios or anything.
Okay. All right, so yeah, we can open up the floor for any questions if that's it. Alicia, I'm gonna go to Zhang first, and then I'll come back to you. Zhang, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just want to point out to the entire board that this OCM applicant should have been voted on last week, but the only reason that their application was not voted on was these allegations. And everyone was approving the application, but as a result of the allegations against this establishment saying that they were selling to minors, we shelved it. So if that allegation has proven to be false, and again, they're going through the process as the process should be gone through, I think we should make this extremely simple for them, especially because it was shelved because of an allegation that we found out to be false.
Thanks, Zhang. Alicia, I see you have your hand up. You can go ahead.
Yes, I just want to just put this into context. These are new establishments that are now coming into our community, and they're happening all over the city. And certain community boards are demanding that these establishments give back to the community, not just come in and take. And even though I know this particular establishment has been here in another form, you know, there is the new rulings that will kind of allow this particular establishment, because they'll be the first one getting a license, to kind of dominate a particular area in our community. And what's happening in other community boards is that they're demanding that these establishments give back to the community, not just get a license, not just sell their product, but actually support some nonprofits. And I've been to other community boards where this is now the rule. Like, if you're going to come into our community and you're going to make money off of our residents, you need to be giving back. And so I think that we need to start setting a bar. It should not be just enough that they come with an application. It should be.
I actually support that. I really do agree with you, Alicia.
Francis, if I could just finish, if you don't mind.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And I'm glad that you support that. But what we want to do is we want to see it in writing, that you're going to make a promise that you're going to identify a nonprofit, one or two, that you're going to give to that nonprofit a certain amount of your proceeds and product. And this nonprofit has to be located in the community, and that you're going to do this because you're going to come back to us in 2 years for renewal. And we're going to check to see if you've done that. So
not a problem.
If we could get the agreement, and this is very important, guys, because if we start this process, then everybody who then follows will understand when you're coming in front of CB9, make sure you already have your paperwork. Make sure you have a nonprofit that you've already identified, because they're going to be asking for that.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be very important. I'm so glad, Francis, that you are agreeing to that, because it is important.
It is.
Good.
It is. It is.
Good. I'm glad. Now, the second thing is, I have to disagree with you, Chair. I think it is important for every establishment to control the exterior of their business. I know where this place is at. There's nothing next door to it that would generate, you know, it's a drugstore, it's a Italian restaurant. There's nothing there that would generate a crowd except this particular establishment. And I think we need to be demanding that these owners control that exterior. I don't want to walk down the block and have to go through all of that. And people don't want to hear all of that. So maybe the noise is not necessarily music noise. It could be just people congregating. So I think we need to get some agreement that there's going to be some way of making sure that the exterior of your space is going to be clear. And not just right in front of my door. I mean, you have some, you know, you come out there, you know your customers. Come on, guys, you know your customers. If your customers are hanging out there, you know, you tell them, move on, guys, you can't stay here. And so I think we need to be getting some kind of agreement from these establishments that they are going to, in some ways, control the exterior, because this happens also with bars, you know, same thing. Okay,
Alicia,
so I'm done. That's it.
Yeah, I just want to tell you that in the application, we even put it in the application that once we get the license, we're going to hire, you know, a bunch of security to stay in the front of the establishment. So we're going to make sure nobody's hanging out in front. I know there are other stores, but in terms of our little area, we're going to make sure nobody hangs out there, because we're not going to allow that.
Thank you. And those are my 2 points. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad you are so willing to agree to them.
Thank you. Thank
it
you.
makes our lives easier. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Oh, Tony, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah. As far as and I agree about the crowds in front of the space. I've had I spent a lot of time. Franklin and Union came with its own crowd of people on the corner. That was there before, it will be there after. So that's a little difficult to, to police. They're there, they're there, and I'm there all the time trying to talk to them. Hey, you can't hang out here. So I just want to bring that up. That's kind of a difficult thing to do, a kind of a high expectation, especially for people that have just been hanging out there forever.
Thank you for that, Tony. I just want us to stay on track because we are voting on the OCM applications now. So at this moment, are there any other questions from any other committee members? Okay, all right. So I think that at this moment, I make a motion to approve this application. Let's start a roll call. Ronald?
Point of order, are you going to include the two things that he agreed to? They should be contingent upon him finding, making a donation to a nonprofit organization. Are you going to include? It should be included in the agreement.
I definitely agree with that, but I just want to make sure that we are legally allowed to ask the applicant to do that. Mia, are we?
We're
The
not
board is
asking.
entitled, the board is entitled to make recommendations in connection with the application.
Okay, all right.
And if he's willing to do it, then you are making your agreement contingent. Well, it doesn't have to be contingent upon that, but that is one of the conditions. Just like the mitigation is the same kind of process.
I understand.
So if that could be included in the language, that they would make sure that they are policing the exterior on the sidewalk and making sure that, there's not a congregation on the sidewalk, and that they find and locate a nonprofit that they give, a percentage of the proceeds to.
Thank you for that. Zhang, I see you have your hand up.
Yes. Oh, there was just one thing I forgot to mention. Mr. Kasim, during our last public safety meeting, there was a little spat, but between you and Ms. Suki. I just want to let you know that, like, when someone makes an allegation against you, like, that don't necessarily mean that the board is automatically going to side with the person launching the allegation against you. Because as you've seen, like, we investigated it and we found it to be false. Even prior to this meeting, I connected with Janelle and asked her about that. So, I mean, you're going to be back in front of us eventually. So if you know certain things are true or may not be true, don't attack the individual because it puts you in an unfavorable light. Let us do our thing, because we're not against you. We're not against you. We're not for you. We're just absolutely neutral. But like, if we heard that information about you selling to minors and we shrugged it off, and then a couple of weeks later it came out that you were selling to minors, everyone's gonna come down on the community board like the apocalypse. So we can't just sit down and ignore these. So when we hear things like this, just know that we're not against you. We just have to look into it. We just can't ignore it. But as you're seeing, you're selling through the second process.
Yes, and I apologize. I truly apologize for what happened last time.
But I just want, if I can just interject, what I was concerned about, and I think the board needs to be concerned about, this is a board member. He made allegations that this board member was harassing him. We need to be following up on that, because if she is doing this, and this is not the first time that we've had a complaint against Suki for this type of behavior from a business person. These people are trying to make money here, and you're messing with their money. And so we need to be looking at our board members and making sure that they're not interacting with businesses when they, and complain. This is the format to do that in a public setting. But to be personally going up to these businesses and carrying on, that's dangerous. That's dangerous for everyone. And so we also have to hear what he had to say, not just the fact that he said she was harassing him. And that's important. And I think that the board needs to step in and say, okay, this is the second complaint, Suki, we had. Let's see what's happening here, because, we don't want you to get hurt, and we don't want the businesses to get hurt. We don't want confrontations between board members and businesses. So I think that this board needs to consider that as well.
I agree with Ms. Boyd.
Thank you. Ronald, I see you have your hand up. You can go ahead. Ronald?
Yeah, okay. This was my question. I noticed, well, let me put it this way. Does the state make recommendations or does the state have requirements on the appearance of the store for those who are submitting applications? Because as your store appears now, and stores similar to yours throughout the neighborhood, it is very attractive to teenagers and young people. And this is a serious question that we're asking. Does your store, does it change if you're approved for this application?
Yeah,
So
we could change the front end of the business if it's making the neighborhood uncomfortable. I could change it, or what I could do is tint it up and take anything that might be revealing to anybody that's walking in front. That's not an issue.
Again, my question though is, does the state make recommendations on the appearance of the store?
No.
No,
Like the marijuana has to be placed in the back, have to be placed someplace that's
No, they
inaccessible, and there's a desk laid out that defines the cannabis, and someone's at the door and they have to come through security to get to the main area where the cannabis would be.
I mean, we're
That's
gonna
not
have
how your store is laid
gonna
out.
the
have
right
city
now.
don't have it, but we will have
we're
security.
gonna have a security in
and
front of the
everything
place,
organized.
and that's that. No kids are coming in there. No noise are going to be made, and nobody's gonna hang out in front of the place. We're gonna have a security.
I think that Mr. Banks's question is more tailored to like the appearance of your shop
Of the shop.
and how appealing it may be to teenagers and like adolescents. Is that what you're trying to ask, Ronald?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
I also want to note too that we can't really tell the business owners, right, how their businesses should
Advertise.
yeah, how it should be advertised. I just want to note that. But I see
But
some.
I think
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that necessarily is true. I think that you could, especially in this particular format, you can ask that the products not have to be seen from the sidewalk. They can put the products on the side, they can put something, or not make it so appealing. I mean, a lot of
Oh, there's
boards.
nothing on the sidewalk. No. Everything is behind the glass. Nobody can even touch it or no. And it's not on the sidewalk, and everything is behind the glass, behind the counter. It's not like easily accessible. Like, no,
See, the
it's not
meeting I
that.
was in, I'm sorry, Mr. Chasm, the meeting I was in with the state last year, we had a meeting. I was so you can correct me if I'm wrong. I was under the assumption that the stores had to have a particular appearance. And they made an issue about the appearance that made it appear like it was a candy store or very attractive to adolescents. That's what I received from the meeting we had with them last year. Now, I could be wrong, so that's all I was referencing.
No problem. It's no
That's
problem.
all.
I understand.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but for my note keeping, may I please have the 917-805-7197 identify themselves, please?
Sorry, we didn't get that. Can you repeat that, please?
They have their hand raised.
And they just unmuted.
So I think at this
I
moment.
apologize. I had a mute button on. It's Fred Baptiste, CB9 chair.
Okay. How you doing, Mr. Baptiste?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
If I could be added to the speakers, as I did have a couple of comments I wanted to make. So Madam Chair, whenever you get to me on the list, please.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and take a vote on this. So I make a motion to approve this application on the conditions, right? That they will be policing the exterior on the sidewalk, and that they will locate a new nonprofit that is within the community to make a donation to. I will start the roll call vote. Ronald?
Yes, I approve under the conditions you stipulated.
Okay. Kavi?
No.
Okay. Zhang? Zhang?
I'm sorry, I thought I was unmuted. Yes, I vote yes.
Okay, thank you. Israel?
Yeah, good evening. I just had a question. Are we like, I'm not sure, why are we enforcing the nonprofit aspect of this? I mean, like, it's a very nice thing if they choose to, but the state is already taxing, they're already paying their taxes as business owners. Like, are we, in addition to this, like, we a mafia that, like, if you want to operate in our community, you have to give certain money to a nonprofit? They're a business. They're going to be working very hard in the business, and they're going to be paying their fair share of taxes. I don't know if you're aware, but the marijuana industry is incentivized by a lot of state taxes going, and the taxes actually goes towards education. So I don't see a reason why we have to enforce that as a community. I think they're doing a great benefit to the community to being there as a business, and that should be enough. And also, like, what percentage of it is like, are they going to give $1 to a nonprofit? Is that going to be included? Like, how exactly are we working this out?
That's actually a great point that you raise.
I mean,
Any
like, it's a
other-
nice idea. It's a nice idea. I'm all for nonprofits, and I donate to nonprofits all the time. But I think that, like, to enforce that, I think that's up to him. It's his money. It's his money, and it's his
And he
choice
agreed
to
to it.
decide.
And he agreed
Well,
to it. Oh,
he didn't agree to it.
Yes, he did.
But I just
he
think that we
agreed-
can't set this. We
But he
can't set this
agreed to
precedent.
it. So why are
Yeah.
you pushing back against it when he's agreed to it? This is a benefit.
Because
to
what
the
about the next applicant? The next applicant's also going to be forced to
Well,
it because the first
that's
one.
what happens. This is what happens. If it comes into your neighborhood on your block, I wonder what you're going to do if it's your children that are going to that.
Children are not allowed into the store. Children are not allowed into the store. Only adults.
Or
21
your
and up.
adults, or the adults in your neighborhood.
I want to make sure that we're staying on track at this
So
moment.
I
motion's
vote
on the
yes
floor. You
without
either-
that condition.
Well, then it's yes. There's no such thing as voting yes with a condition. It's either yes, no, or abstention. That's the Robert's Rules of Order.
I just want to say that that's the reason why I voted no. I don't like when we start making stipulations that people have what people have to do with their money. It does sound very much like we're kind of threatening them that they won't get it, like they won't get a yes from us unless they pay up, and I do not like the way that
It's
sounds.
not payment. It's given back to the
That's
community.
not that I don't like the way that sounds. I live in that community also, and I actually am familiar with that area very, very much.
So I have a question. I'm sorry for not raising my hand. So Kavi, if that stipulation was not made, would you have voted yes?
You can't ask that. You can't ask
Oh,
that.
okay.
Right. There's a motion on the floor, Chair. You continue with the voting. The discussion is over. You're in the motion.
Can't have discussion. I have things I want to say too, but
Okay, you can't have a
it's not
discussion.
over.
Ms.
everyone.
Westadall, could you please
Yeah.
mute yourself there in the vote? Ms. Boyd, could you please mute yourself so the committee can vote? Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna continue with the vote. Perhaps we just recommend the business gives back on some form if they would like to.
Yeah, you cannot do that. It's a motion on the floor. The motion has to finish. You cannot make a supplemental motion. The motion's on the floor. You already been voting. You have to finish the vote. That's Robert's Rules of Order. You cannot supplement it.
Okay, so Israel, can you please let me know your vote?
Can we bring a new vote to the floor?
No, it's in the middle of a vote. You cannot bring a new vote in the middle of a vote.
You have to complete this vote first. Please, Ms. Westadall, could you mute yourself? Yisrael, another motion can be placed on the floor for the application, but this vote must be completed first.
But if we don't, but if we all abstain from the vote, can we bring
You
it to
can
the
bring
floor
a new
again?
motion forward in connection with the application, but you must complete this vote first.
Okay, so I'm going to abstain.
Right. Carmen is absent. Zlati?
I vote no.
Okay. So, yeah.
Janelle, I want to change my yes to abstain because we're gonna just I'm gonna motion this as soon as this vote over to do a revote so we can.
Okay, right. You.
Just messing with our community. I tell you.
So at this moment, can we do a revote now, Mia, or?
You have to announce the results of the first vote, and then another member of the committee would have to place a motion on the floor in connection with the application.
Okay, so based off of the results from the first vote, this application is not approved.
You have to state the vote, like what the vote was.
Okay, so Ronald Banks, voted yes, Kabi voted no, Zhang abstained, Israel abstained, Carmen is absent, and Zlati voted no.
Janelle,
Yes.
You
at
have to
this
vote.
time, oh, I'm sorry.
Janelle has to vote too.
And I voted yes.
Okay, well, now that that's over, I hereby motion this community board to make a revote on this application without any stipulation on this establishment, this OCM application. May I please get a second on that motion?
You have to have a discussion. You have to
I
open it up
second the motion.
And now it has to open up for discussion.
It's open for the committee to discuss.
I have nothing to discuss about this.
You just have to, the committee has to clarify the stipulations that they do want in this motion to go forward.
No, yes, ma'am, but respectfully, my motion was to revote on this application without any stipulations.
Understood.
And did Israel second that motion?
Yes.
So I just want to be clear that the condition of them policing the exterior on the sidewalk, we no longer want to include that into this vote.
Well, as a part of their application, Janelle, they said that they'll have 2 security guards, as I recall. I don't know if they said 1 or 2, but I believe they specifically said 2 security guards. So if they
Yes.
have 2
Yes.
security guards in their establishments, then I believe their security should follow rules and guidelines. And as long as their security is in bounds with what they're required to do, they meet the requirement. And one of the reasons I think that we should move forward without any stipulations is because for months we've been dealing with illegal smoke shops operating and with complete rogue immunity, and no matter how much noise the community made, nothing has been done. So now you have Mr. Kassim following the procedure the right way, just like I mentioned during the last community board with the other OCM application. So we should do everything to reward him by approving his application to send a message to all the other illegal smoke shops that are operating illegally with immunity. This is going to be a step to move forward to be able to shut down the illegal smoke shops. But first, we have to legalize certain establishments.
Thank you, Zhang. I'm going to go to Ronald, and then I'm going to go to Israel because I want to make sure all of the committee members are able to speak. Ronald, you can come
Yes,
up.
I just have a comment, and that is that going forward, I understand what Mr. Israel was saying. I do think, though, that going forward, we do need to consider some things regarding particularly cannabis, because it's going to be an extremely profitable industry, just like alcohol and tobacco. And I don't think it's a crime to suggest that they contribute to a local youth group, whatever, in regards to education around the issue of cannabis. I know we can't force anyone to do that. That's not my point. I'm just saying going forward, it's an issue to think about because this cannabis thing is new to us, and it's worth thinking and discussing somewhere down the line. That's all. But I agree with what's been put forward by Mr. Israel and Mr. Zhang.
Thank you, Ronald. So now we're going to go to Israel.
Yeah, hi. So regarding the first stipulation for the police in the sidewalk, I think it's really not an issue for me, mostly because I feel that it's in the business owner's best interest if the sidewalks were clear. I don't think anybody who had a business would want that there should be tons of crowds outside. It's not a good look for the business, and it's just bad for business. So I don't think we have to enforce that because I think they're going to want to enforce it anyway. But as opposed to the second one, I think just that like it's first of all, we could have the discussion without the business owner here. I think now that the business owner here, it's a little bit difficult, but we're just
Not
setting a
having a
precedent.
discussion without the business. This is an open meeting.
No,
cannot
but
do
we're just about well, we could have it. Yes, we can. I'm speaking now. We could we could have the we could have the topic. We could have the topic open when their application is not on the table. When it's just a general applicant, the business owner could be here if they want to, but not about their application. I'm not saying they can't be here. I'm just saying that if we're discussing their application and we're going to say, oh, we have to just discuss it in general about all applications, not just about one application. And I think we could have that at the end of the meeting after we vote on this business.
Thank you, Israel. So I think we need to go ahead with a vote. So I make a motion to approve this application without any.
My hand is raised. I don't know why you don't.
Oh, sorry, Kai, I didn't see your hand. You can go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask that in the application, there is a stipulation that is put in for security because there is a loitering problem outside their store. I've been there several times. Definitely a few times, and there is a loitering problem outside the store. So I have to disagree with Yisrael because it might be in the best interest of the business not to have loitering outside the store, but it is an issue for that specific store. I've personally seen it. I'm just not sure. I just want clarity on the security that's in the application. Is it only inside the store? Is it inside and outside the store? Like, that's what I'd like to be clear on.
It's inside and outside.
It's inside and outside. Is that what it is? Is that stated very clearly in the application?
Yeah, you can look in the application. There's a section in the application that asks for security, and it's there. If you have a copy of the application, I don't have a copy in front of me, but if you have a copy, you will see in there that we are going to provide security. It's part of the application. You have to
right. I know provide security. I understand. Provide security, but is it stated very clearly inside and outside?
Well, I don't have the application in front of me, but we are going to provide security.
Wow.
Take it from me. We are going to provide security. Nobody is going to loiter inside or outside. But as was stated earlier, there are a whole lot of businesses there. So we only have like little, 3 yards in front. That's the only place that we control. And we're going to make sure nobody that has nothing to do with the store stands there. That's guaranteed. The security is going to be there. It's not going to be loitering. It's not going to be any noise. We're going to make sure everybody in the neighborhood is happy. We try to do the right thing. We hire people, people from the neighborhood. No, so that's that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Custom. We're going to move forward with a vote. So I make a motion to approve this application without any stipulations. Ronald?
Yes.
Kavi?
I'm going to abstain. Thank you.
Zhang? Zhang?
I'm sorry.
Did you say yes? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yes, ma'am. I said yes.
Okay, thanks. Israel?
Yes.
Okay. Zlati?
No.
Okay. I'm voting yes. So like the votes are in favor, so this application is approved.
What was the vote count? 3 to 2?
4 to there's 4 yes, 1 abstain, and 1 no.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, board members. I appreciate this board. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kassim. So that was the only OCM application that we had for this evening. I think that we can move on now. Fred, I know you had your hand raised.
I'm actually listening.
Fred?
Listen.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. No, I mean, I think there were just a couple of points that I had wanted to point out, but I think the committee's made their decisions. absolutely, I want to make clear that we are very aware as a board and a community in terms of the responsibilities of all the applicants. Part of the responsibilities is that they need to be good neighbors when they're here. So in terms of those stipulations, they are not necessarily, I don't think they're necessary, although I think it is good that we're actually letting them know at this stage in terms of what the expectations are with that, and that this is something that the community board takes very seriously and that the community board is watching. Part of the process is when they come for their renewals, we are looking for those quality of life complaints. We are looking at the noise complaints. We're looking at loitering. We're looking at NYPD. We're looking at Department of Health and all other relevant agencies. So this is something that we are definitely keeping an eye. And I also say that, I definitely want to make sure that we're aware as well. This is a very new process for the board, for the city, for the state. And there will be changes that are coming along as well. I definitely am open and receptive to all the suggestions that are made in terms of how do we make this something that's better. So that way, as we're doing this, we're also, one, keeping in mind the applicants that are coming in, but two, also making sure that all the safety concerns are addressed and spoken about as well. But that's all I wanted to say as for now. And the next steps will be that these agenda items will be considered by the executive committee and by the full board when we meet again. I believe that we're supposed to schedule a meeting on the 27th, if I'm correct. And Mia will correct me if with respect to the date. But absolutely looking forward to continuing the dialogue, not just with these applications, but with all applications in terms of how do we make this a better process and we address all the concerns of the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fred. So I noticed that Balboa Restaurant, you're still here. You are free to stay with us throughout the whole entire meeting if you want to. But I also wanted to let you know that you can hop off as well if you would like.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so at this moment, we are going to move on to our next agenda item that was on the agenda, which was a community fair planning. So I will make this really brief, but as you all may be aware, the board as a whole hosts a community fair in the spring/summertime that really brings together all members of the community-based organization, nonprofits, and all community partners. And we gather and we engage. And it's really a moment to show the community that we are here. Our last community fair I was able to attend, and I got a lot of questions from the community about the board and our roles. And I really want us as a committee to think about how we can show up as the Public Safety Committee for this community fair. I want to start brainstorming around that, as well as what are some of the engagements that we could lead potentially over the spring/summer. We put a lot of emphasis on SLA applications and now OCM applications, but public safety is so multifaceted, and it's important that we're thinking about the other layers of it, right? There are many community-based organizations out there that are focused on public safety when it relates to youth violence intervention or creating safe spaces for youth, families, and community residents overall through community centers, right? So we want to think about how we can partner with these CBOs, these nonprofits, our local precinct, et cetera, so that we are showing up in that way. So this is an assignment for our committee members. I want you all to take some time to think about how we can engage with the broader community. And in our next committee meeting, we can share our thoughts. But are there any, initial thoughts, questions regarding that suggestion?
I have one quick question. Is there a date set yet? Because I think that would affect people's participation, because I'd heard, we discussed this in my committee, environmental protection as well, and I'd heard the date was June 1st at one point, but a date would be important for people's participation, because if it's on a Saturday, several people aren't going to be able to do it.
Mia, do we have a set date for the community fair? Or is that still up in the air?
No, not that I'm aware of. I know that the board is shooting for sometime in June, but a date has not been finalized.
Yeah, so it's something.
And it's going to be in the park by the office, right?
I'm not sure. None of the details have been finalized as of yet, Ms. Westerdahl.
All right. Please let me know
you.
when you do. I'm very anxious. Anxious, but I'm just excited,
Understood.
Thanks, Teresa. Ronald, I see you have your hand up. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to share. I think that's a good idea because public safety encompasses a lot of things. And I think it's healthy for us to broaden that as opposed to just what we do. There's a lot of other things we can take a look at and have an impact on. So I'm going to brainstorm it, and I look forward, to us talking about this later on. That was
Awesome.
it.
Thank you. Alicia, I see you have your.
They did a CPR demonstration and stuff like that at the first one. So that was pretty great, actually. Fire department, all that was there. The first one was really good. Last year, not so much.
Alicia, I see you have your hand up.
No, it's in regards to the next item. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So if there are no other questions or initial thoughts on this, I think that we can move on to open discussion. So at this moment, the floor is open for anyone who has a question or they would like to address something. Alicia, I see you have your hand up, so I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that this committee is supposed to be setting standards for the businesses that are coming into our community. Fred talked about the fact not only did you not have noise, you had noise complaints. People have witnessed congestion in front of businesses, and yet you still let a business go ahead and get a license without even making a commitment or promise to protect the community. I'm not seeing how the language is actually meeting up with the voting, because if this committee is supposed to be protecting the residents, which is really we're not supposed to be here to protect the businesses per se, but to protect the residents, to make sure that the businesses do not impinge upon the residents. We're failing in that, especially in this last application, because you had 311 complaints, and you even had a board member that said that they witnessed, and I know I witnessed congregation over there. And yet you just went ahead without stipulations just because they applied for an application. So now all the business has to do is legally apply for an application, and we're just going to agree to it because they're applying for an application. Well, they're applying for a license because they have to apply for the license, because all the ones that are unlicensed will be gone in a little while. So they're not doing us a favor by paying attention to the law. And then where's the standards here? You're not establishing any standards for these cannabis. Now the cannabis is on Flatbush. That's a predominantly Black American Caribbean community that they are now targeting. And what? We don't have to demand anything from them. We don't ask them for anything. We don't ask them to make any contributions to the community. Oh, we're just worrying about their profits. They're going to make a profit. They're going to make a profit. And so this committee should be sitting down and picking out standards and saying the only standard that we got for you is, oh, you come in front of us with an application. And as long as you are applying for the application, it's okay, because there's all the other applicants who haven't done it. That should not be, that's such a low bar for us. But then that's typical, right? Black communities don't require support from the businesses. We don't require businesses to sit there and give back to the community, right? Not in our community. Oh, don't you dare think about giving back anything in that community. But let it be in somebody else's community. Very different tone. So I have to say that. Now, that's just a statement. What I'm talking about is last month, you sat there, this committee sat there and agreed to have a business at 733 Flatbush Avenue. And the woman came to us and specifically stated that she had just started the business in November of 2023. There have been complaints and statements that the business had been open prior and that had been selling unlawfully. She made the claim that that was not true. I made that claim. She said it was not truthful, that it was not true. She just got the application in November 2023. Well, I went and did my due diligence. Right within the application itself was a notice that is required where an inspection was done on this business. Well, guess what the date of that notice was? November the 1st. And in that letter, it specifically talked about inspecting the business at 733. It talked about that cannabis was being sold. It had 18 points of that business, talking about where the cameras were, where the security guard, where the products was they visible? showing that a fully functioning business was in effect when that company did their investigation. Now, if this woman had had the lease in November of 2023, how could she possibly have a letter from an inspection company dated November 1st, 2023? It's impossible. So she lied. And either that inspection did not happen, and so that company is lying because they put it on their official head because they have to have that as a requirement, or she lied. Either way, this business should now be flagged. And I'm asking this committee to send a letter to the state saying that this business should be flagged because they came to us with information that was not accurate, either that they were not priorly in business, or that an inspection had happened that had not happened. Now, I gave this information, it's contained right inside of the application. I pointed it out to Ms. Hilton. You could talk to Ms. Hilton about it, but I think that this application, this committee should do its due diligence and say, we looked at the evidence, this applicant came in front of us, told us they never had a business here before, and yet we have a fully formed letter from an agency that makes the claim that they did a full inspection of this business. And they found a fully functioning cannabis business open and running. Because these are the games that they're going to play as each one of these applicants come in front of us trying to get a legal license that are currently doing unlawful stuff. And we have to get up on this, and we have to make sure that the applicants are coming here and being truthful to us and not just thinking, oh, well, we're just going to say whatever we want to say. So I'm asking, will this committee put a motion on the floor to flag the state about the discrepancy of the applicant's comments and the information that was contained in the application? It's a question. Madam Chair?
Yeah, I am here. I just want to get the committee's thoughts on this. Zhang, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Honestly, I think what Ms. Boyd said is extremely important. Now, I think if we can verify what Ms. Boyd is saying as far as any OCM application lying to the committee, then it is absolutely necessary that we investigate further and do exactly what Ms. Boyd has instructed us to do. I think it's, in all fairness, I mean, as a community member, she's entitled to that, especially if she's bringing damaging information to us. But for what it's worth, and I need clarity on, is from my understanding with the OCM application last month, she said that this is, and I may be wrong, so please help me understand, because it's an educational process for all of us. She had taken over the business at a set time, but the actual storefront had been there already. I'm pretty certain of what I'm saying, but I'm not gonna swear by it because I'm human and I may be wrong. But if what Ms. Boyd is saying is true, and I think that we owe that to her. So if anyone else can verify what Ms. Boyd is saying, I'll be the first one to motion for it.
Well, I can tell you that I went back and reviewed the tape, and she said that she took over the lease in November of 2024. And the letter, Ms. Hilton can verify that the letter is a part of the application. It's addressed to her company and that address. It says, based upon the inspection that we did, and it said, dear, whatever the name of the applicant is, her business. It denotes her business. It doesn't denote the signage on the top. It denotes her business. And it says, dear so-and-so, which is the name of the company, we did an inspection at 733 Flatbush Avenue. And these are the conditions that we found in existence at that time.
Okay, well, Ms. Boyd.
Ms. Hilton, do you have that document?
Yes, Ms. Boyd, I do have that information.
Okay, well, Ms. Boyd, just to be clear, you said November 2024, but just to be clear, it's November 2023.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right.
But,
I'm sorry.
but
November 1st, 2023. It was dated.
but I'll be the first to apologize to you if I overlooked that because I thought I was under the impression that she took over the business. But with that being said, and Ms. Hilton, you said you confirmed it, I hereby motion this community board to investigate what Ms. Boyd has said as far as the OCM application. What was it? OET?
OET Inc.
Yeah, OET Inc. to be investigated for lying to this board about her involvement in illicit activity and the date that she took over the business. In addition to my motion, I also wish some motion that if the allegations is true, that we flag this business and let the next process know, next people who's going to look at this application know that this OET Inc. has lied to community board in order to shirk their responsibilities and pass, although they have been engaged in illicit activity. May I please get a second on that motion?
I'll second that. I'll second that.
What was this inspection for?
It appeared, Ms. Hilton, wait, you don't have chat.
I'm here. Well, essentially, the inspection listed all of the basically the layout of the store, what was on site in terms of products, the security layout of the setting of the store, in terms of how the selling space was located, laid out. So
Who made the
it was a
inspection?
business that was completely intact, it seemed. Not a business coming together, but a business that already seems to be intact.
But is it possible that they had the inspection in November, but they only signed the lease for January 1st?
But you know what? Maybe that is something
We have
that
to
we'll
look into
find
it, but
when
it's
we
just
investigate.
just trying to be devil's advocate.
No, 1000%. You may be right, but that would come in terms of investigating exactly and nailing down these dates.
Well,
This was the application that we approved last month.
Yes. The
Okay.
OET.
Let's just, I think it's just need to be clear. She stated that she took over the lease. Well, she said she obtained a lease. She didn't say she took over a lease. She said she obtained a lease in November of 2023. You can't possibly have obtained a lease and then have an inspection on November 1st. And that's just the date of the letter, is not the date of the inspection. And have a fully functioning business, because she came to us and said that the business was not open. She said she did not have a fully functioning business.
Right.
She said she did
Understood,
not.
Ms. Boyd. But there is a motion
See-
on the floor. We need the committee
Okay.
members
Yes, I'm sorry.
responding to the motion on
Okay.
the floor. Thank you, Ms. Boyd.
What's the motion again? To look into this?
Yes, the motion is essentially to halt the application as it currently stands until the allegations brought forth by Ms. Boyd are thoroughly investigated and if found to
But
be
as
true.
is currently, it never went through the general board anyway.
It hasn't appeared at general board, but
But
if
it's
the
going to.
allegations appear, if they turn out to be true, then we would be alerting the state.
Okay. The question is, can we look into it and bring it up by the general board? Just because I feel that if it's not true, are they going to have to go through if they're going to have to go through another cycle of another 6 weeks to
Not general board. It would have to be completed by executive committee because they wouldn't be calendared if the allegations are found to be true. They wouldn't even appear.
I see. Okay. Okay, so let's vote.
Motion on the floor, committee members.
Yes, so we can go ahead with the vote. Ronald,
Yes, I second the amendment. Yes.
Javi, Javi, okay, is she here? Okay, I guess she's not here. Okay, Zhang,
Yes.
okay, Israel,
Yes.
Zlati,
Yes, Javi's in a different time zone. She's taking care of her sister who had very serious surgery. So thank you, Javi, for even showing up. That's dedication.
thank you for letting us know. I hope all is well, Javi. Okay. And
We'll see. Yeah.
I also second that. So we are moving a motion to halt this application until further investigation. At this moment, are there any other questions? Teresa, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that I did attend the same state meetings for the Operation Cannabis Management that Mr. Banks attended. And it was very clear about how these businesses have to operate if they get a license. And the front of the stores, it almost has to be like a medical facility. There can be absolutely no child-friendly advertisement. It has to be very simple and very clear. No neon signs, none of that is allowed. So just so you all know, these businesses need to be very, it's like a medical operation. You know, there's certain laws that they have to follow, regulations, and it's pretty clear, and you should all be aware of those. If you're passing these applications and looking at these businesses, you should rewatch or read those requirements. So just, you know, and
Thank
I
you,
do
Tara.
believe,
I remember that too. That's what I recall. There were
and I think
specific
that
outlines that had to
Yes.
be addressed.
it was very clear, and I was happy about that, because I feel like, you know, if these places are doing the right thing and supplying people with, you know, products that are safe, then that's going to be good for everybody. There's no spraying, there's no chemicals. It's not going to be dangerous for people using it. And I appreciate that. And I think it should be like SLA is similar, like state liquor authority licenses are similar. I think this committee might think about, you know, having a liquor store and a bar and a cannabis like right in a row. Like there should be a requirement for feet with those, like there is for schools. We just want to pile on a bunch of those types of businesses with inebriants into one area. You know, they should be kind of spread out. Everybody's getting one. And I do agree that I did hear other community boards asking for something back from these businesses. They do stand to make an incredible profit in the future. And I think it's in everybody's best interest, even though I do know that there are taxes that are going toward our education system, but it would be nice to have them supporting a local not-for-profit. You know, there's a few really great ones in our neighborhood, and they could pick one. You know, I think that's a wonderful idea, and I fully support that. And you know, I think we should ask for that in the future, just similarly how we ask the people applying for that state liquor authority. We do ask them to hire locally. Like they're not required to do that, but we make that ask. And they often agree, and that's good for us. It's good for the community. People appreciate businesses where they're hiring locally, giving back to the community in some ways, you know. So I just want to say I do support that strongly. So thank you for listening to me, and nice to see everyone.
Thank you, Teresa. Fred, I see you have your hand up. You can go ahead.
No, thank you very much. Just going back to the previous question, you know, I just wanted to make sure that we were very clear in terms of the role of the committee with that as well. I think that what we want to make sure is that whatever recommendation is coming out of the committee, you know, it's reflective of a certain confidence in terms of the applications. So if you have enough information in front of you where we understand that these people potentially will be good partners, you greenlight it and you make the recommendation, and it'll go before the exec, it'll go before the full board. If the information before you says that there's too many spotty things, that they're bad actors, or there's just too much negative history, absolutely disapprove of those, and we can continue on in terms of those conversations. But what I would like to see as well is, if you don't have sufficient information in front of you, it's perfectly fine for the committee to say we don't have enough. And at that stage, it is okay. You know, it's probably sufficient to, you know, to say, listen, there's some incomplete information, or there's things we don't understand, or we want to understand better, before we can say either yes or no. And at that point, it's probably, you know, appropriate to say, listen, these are the 4 or 5 questions we have in terms of, we need additional information to verify the status of your application. So, you know, I encourage those kinds of conversations to continue with the Public Safety Committee and for all committees, to say, if you don't have enough information, absolutely, you are not pressured to make a decision if you don't have that information. And I think that, you know, and again, going back to the point that as this is brand new, I would definitely look forward to recommendations in terms of if we standardize what kind of information we would need to know. This is new to me in terms of understanding that people have the business set up before you even do the application. So if that is something that is going to be standard going forward, then perhaps it's appropriate for us to ask for certain information going forward, like perhaps maybe pictures of what the layout is going to be, perhaps pictures of the front to make sure that they're compliant with state laws and regulations. And I leave it to the committee to think of other things that might be helpful. But absolutely, just going back to that original point, if you don't have the information, it's perfectly appropriate to ask for that. Although I will put the caveat where we don't want to make it something where we're adding a lot of extra facets that aren't necessarily required by the state. So those are conversations that we'll continue to have. Absolutely, there are questions that are coming from the committee. Please relay those to the chair, and we will have those conversations in terms of how to best proceed. But I do want to make those points. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. And, I also want to mention that, this OCM process of reviewing applications is completely new, and we are still trying to figure out what works best. And we're always keeping the community's best interests at heart, as this is what the board was set up to do. So I just wanted to add that. Israel, I see you have your hand up. You can go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to start off by saying that while I don't agree with everything that Ms. Boyd said, I do appreciate the fact that she attends the meetings and she's she brings in a lot of good energy and she brings up very good points. And I think that it's definitely a good thing to have in our community, and I commend that. That being said, I do agree that it's a nice idea to have the business donated to a nonprofit. The way I see it is that similar to the fact that a red flag for a bar is to be open at 4 a.m., I think that we could consider that if in the future, in 2 years from now, when they come for a renewal and we see that they've given the X amount of money to nonprofits, we could consider that a green light on the renewal application. But I think that to force them to say that if you don't donate money to a nonprofit, we're not going to give you a license, I think that it's not fair to the business. That's just what I wanted to say. And I felt that it was unfair that we're putting the question directly in front of that specific application. So I do agree to somewhat that it's a good idea, but it needs to be discussed without that application in front of us. Although they could be there if they want, can't stop them from attending the meeting. Understand?
Thank
That's
you.
all I wanted to say.
Alicia, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I'm glad that you can hear me, Israel, because I am concerned about that. But I think what has to happen then is that you guys have to get together in an open meeting and discuss what your parameters are. I've asked you that the last time. Why don't you set up a subcommittee where you talk about what it is that you believe? And I think that you guys need to find out exactly what are the rules. You had an applicant come in. They were proposing to have 92 hours open for cannabis. They can't have 92 hours open for cannabis. The rule is 70. And nobody knew that on this committee. And so we're negotiating with an applicant who's saying, oh, I'm going to open up 12 hours a day when you can't open up 12 hours a day, by the state laws. So you guys also have to be educated. How are you representing us and filtering if you don't know? So my suggestion is that you form a subcommittee, you talk about these issues. Anybody can come. It's an open meeting. Then we're not talking about a specific application. And then we talk about okay, so what does the reg say? Because I do believe that applicant does have inappropriate stuff in front of his store. I've seen that store. It's got all kinds of stuff going on in there, and he's not going to change that. We now have given him the approval. We flagged it. He now has the approval unconditional. And now we got a cannabis store, the first one in our neighborhood that's violating, the rules because we don't know the rules. So I would suggest that a motion be put on the floor for a subcommittee to be had so that we can discuss, the community and the subcommittee can discuss what do we want to see in these cannabis applications? What questions do we want to pose to them? What will we like for them to do? And we're not saying to, and I think you're right, Israel. This I do point out. We're not saying that you have to have a nonprofit in order to get a license. But we can say we will look very favorable upon the fact that you are reaching out to the community and giving back. How are you doing that? Are you hiring locally? Are you giving money to a nonprofit? And you will find that they will be agreeing to that because they know they're going to make a lot of money. So let's figure out a way in which we don't have to do this each and every time, but we already have it set up. So my suggestion is form a subcommittee, get together, and then educate yourselves. Maybe Mia could send you, I'm giving you more work, Mia, I'm sorry, the rules and regulations about how these stores have to exist, the time frames, the layouts, the distance between, businesses and the distance between schools and let's get our act together. So when they come to us, you're flying through the applications without having to do all of this work. So that's my suggestion. And thank you for hearing me, Israel. I do appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd. Rod, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, hi. So first of all, there is nothing wrong with putting a contingency on an application or an applicant that he or she, should donate locally to a charitable organization within the community. Now, I know of one cannabis shop, who is making a lot of money right now, and he does not live in the community that he is selling. So that money is going into that store and going out. So there is nothing wrong with putting that type of stipulation on the application, right? We do it all the time. As I mentioned before, what happens? We have new businesses that come in and we say, you have to hire someone within the community, right? So what's the difference? And to me, it doesn't make a difference. Either we speak about it on the record here with the individual here or not, because it's all recorded. It's all public record. So it doesn't make a difference. That's my spiel. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod. Zhang, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Hilton, in line with what Ms. Boyd said, I do agree with her. Would it be possible for you to send every community board member a copy of the Robert Rules of Law? I think that's absolutely necessary for us being part of the community board. And you too, Mr. Baptiste, respectfully, seeing that you oversee pretty much all of these community boards, I think it's important that anytime someone joins a community board as a member or a resident member, for them to have the Robert Rules of Law so they can educate themselves. Because myself, this is the first time I've been on a community board, and it's an educational process for me as I move along. So I think in order for us to be educated to make better decisions for the community, I mean, we should be educated on what's what. I think that's extremely important.
Just for clarity, I wasn't talking about the Robert's Rules of Order. I was talking about the cannabis rules. I was asking that because these are new laws and there's quite a number of them, I was asking if maybe Ms. Hilton, if she has that information, if she can, and I would love to have it myself. If she had that, do you have that, Ms. Hilton? Do you have
yes. I have some information that I can reshare to the committee. And Zhang, I can definitely send you some Robert's Rules information just so that you can have it. So I can gladly send you both and just recirculate everything to the committee as well.
Yeah, regardless of if it's the Robert Rules of Law or the cannabis, like Ms. Boyd is saying, anytime there's any rules or regulations, I think, it's obligatory for us to have it, just so we can educate ourselves to be able to do our jobs better.
Thank you, Zhang. Okay, so we'll take our last question or just a thought from Fred. Fred, you can go ahead.
No, thank you very much for that. And definitely listening intently in terms of the conversations. I think that, again, cannabis is very new for all of us. So Mia, thank you. Whatever information you can send out with respect to that, that's great. I would probably say we also go one step further, and it may be helpful for us to hear directly from the horse's mouth in terms of if we can set up a training session, not even just for public safety, but for the board and for anybody who's interested in that, because I think there's a lot of nuance that we need to get to understand. And even as I say that, though, just also understand that there's probably gonna be a lot of changes to that as well. So what is true today may not necessarily be the same in about a month, but that's part of the learning commitment that we're going to have to make. And yeah, and so I think, you know, we'll do whatever we can in terms of making all those trainings available. I did want to say something about some of the conversations about what we stipulate as a board. And I think that these are deeper questions that we're probably going to have to look at. I would probably say it's very useful, and Madam Chair, it may be helpful for you to kind of, you know, have a meeting or a session of a meeting dedicated to what are the questions or what are the things that you would like to understand in terms of the scope of what you can do as a committee. So that way we can actually try and get answers for that as well. I am a little bit nervous in terms of how far we can go in terms of stipulating certain things, because some of them may tread into territory that may not be appropriate for the board to engage in. But I think the best way we address that is, what is it we're thinking about? And we can ask the questions to the appropriate authorities in terms of what can we do and what's out of bounds in terms of the scope of the board and how we do that. But again, I want to thank everyone for your, you know, for your commitment to this process, for asking the questions, for you know, the conversations you're having, and definitely if there's anything I can do in terms of facilitating that, please let me know. Please make sure you're in communication with your chair, so that way she can, you know, let me know as well in terms of what do you need in terms of support, if it's training or if it's just guidance as well. But again, thank you everyone, and I think that's all I have for tonight, unless there's any questions for me directly that I can answer, you know, from the board perspective. But okay, but thank you very much for the time.
Well, I do have a question, Fred. So what you're basically saying, you're suggesting is that they not only come together to talk about what it is that they would require, but whether or not the board can actually ask for something, from whether or not that's lawful to be able to ask for it. Is that what you're trying to say?
There's some levels of stipulations that are absolutely something we can do. Some of the other suggestions that we've had in terms of stipulations there might be some questions or conversations that have to be had. But I'm just saying is, if, you know, there's a session that you get those questions, we can try and get to the answers.
Right. Because I think really what I understand is that maybe we can't ask, but we can ask them in an application, are you given to a nonprofit? And say that our, you know, and our support of your application, you know, can that answer to that question can be weighed. We might weigh that we might.
And that's where it gets touchy. Where is the suggestion that you give really a suggestion?
Okay.
You know, I say you should, but am I really saying you should, or am I saying no, you need to? And you know, is that something that's in the scope of the board that we can make that kind of a request? So those are the questions that I think are that we need to go. I mean, I think some of them, like in terms of, I know in the past we've talked about, okay, well, listen, we need to have stipulations in terms of time. I think we may want to standardize around that in terms of we just have a certain amount of time, you know, a certain time we say, listen, if you're opening a business in the district, you can open this early and close this late, and that's all we do. And that's, you know, at least there's an expectation that's set. I don't think there's any issue with that. Some of the other stuff may require more conversation or more guidance in terms of what we're allowed to do and what we can.
Thank you so much, Fred. So thank you everyone for showing up this evening.
Madam Chair, will you be having another meeting to discuss this thing, or will we be doing this again next month?
So I think that what we can do is that we can save space in our next committee meeting to discuss this.
Or to discuss the cannabis parameters and what we feel will be appropriate?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, I just wanted some clarity, that's all.
No, it's fine.
So is that going to be on the agenda to form a committee, or?
Yeah, that's gonna be tight.
No, she's saying that she wants to include that in the meeting, the regular committee meeting, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And Ms. Charles,
I just, hold on, if I could just say this very quickly. You don't necessarily have to wait till the next meeting to have this as an agenda item. I think even in the terms of the committee, if you want to send your suggestions to the chair, I think it's, you know, in the district office, they can compile those things. So rather than waiting a month to discuss it, we might be able to get you answers by the time you get back next month. So that might help speed it in terms of moving things along so you get the answers you need to do what you need to do.
Yeah, so if you all could just reach out to me directly regarding that.
Could you give us your contact information, Miss?
Sure. I don't want to say it over the, the meeting because it is being live streamed. Mia, do you think that is that something that?
Of course, as always, Ms. Boyd, you can direct a correspondence to the BK09 email, and I'll forward it over to the chair.
Okay, and then you
Right.
can, Ms. Charles?
Yes, and I'll send it over to her. So anyone who's interested in forwarding any OCM recommendations or SLA applicant recommendations, straight over to bk09-1@cb.nyc.gov. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Okay, so I was just going to say, thank you everyone for showing up this evening. You showing up and engaging really shows your commitment to the community and this board. So this meeting is adjourned, and I hope that everyone has a great rest of your week. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all at the next committee meeting.
You have to make a motion to end the meeting.
Oh, sorry. I make a motion to end the meeting. Do I have a second?
Yes, I second it.
Awesome. Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night. Good night.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Night.